The Killing Joke is a graphic novel that was written by renowned postmodern author Alan Moore in 1988. On the surface, this story gave readers a long-awaited definitive origin story for arguably the most popular comic book villain of all time, the Joker. Rather than simply being a cat-and-mouse story between Batman and the Joker, however, this story directly tackles the concepts of sanity, chaos, and order. These concepts are interwoven to explore a deeper question. Where does power truly lie in relation to these ideas? Are we all struggling against the power of chaos? Is the Joker exerting his power onto those around him in an effort to make them his subjects? Or rather, does he truly believe that he is freeing them from the stranglehold that the power of reality has put onto them? While no definitive conclusions to these questions are proposed by Moore, the graphic novel does an excellent job in showcasing both sides of the argument, thereby leaving the reader to decide who is truly free and who is simply the subject of the power projection of perceived sanity. In the end, this seminal work stands as the Joker's testimony that the shackles of rationality and sanity are self-imposed, positioning society as the subject of its own struggle to make sense of a chaotic world. The concept of power and subject is explored in many different ways in The Killing Joke, and an understanding of these notions is best explored by breaking up the narrative into 3 sections. The foundation of the story is based upon the backstory of the Joker, in which a young, struggling comedian loses his grip on reality over the course of one bad day. This backstory is interwoven with the story of the Joker in present time, trying to orchestrate a similar bad day for Police Commissioner Jim Gordon. This serves to illustrate that sanity and insanity are not binary opposites, but rather extremes on a continuum, with neither inherently superior to the other. Finally, the final part of the story shows the struggle between Batman and the Joker, with the Joker trying to prove that he and Batman are essentially the same, simply subjects to the random power of a chaotic world. Batman offers the counterpoint, insisting that they themselves are actually in control. The 3 parts of the story have a large degree of overlap, but individually serve to deconstruct different aspects of the individual struggle with the power of sanity. The history of the Joker's departure from the constraints of sanity is told through various flashbacks to a 24-hour period in his life an unknown amount of years prior. We see that Jack, the Joker's real name, is a struggling comedian with a pregnant wife. He gave up his job as a lab assistant to pursue his dreams, and it has not quite worked out for him. In an effort to make some quick money to support his growing family, Jack agrees to help a group of thugs navigate the chemical plant that he used to work at. The thugs suspiciously insist that he wear the mask and attire of a well-known local criminal, the Red Hood, claiming that it simply is a mantle that they must bestow to the most important member of the team. Though they don't physically coerce Jack, the thugs project the power of the Red Hood's reputation to manipulate him. This act of power is a clear example of systemic exploitation. This type of exploitation separates individuals from what they produce, severing that which ties the individual to himself, and thus subjugating them to the will of others. Just prior to the aforementioned heist, however, the police inform Jack that his young wife and unborn child have just passed away, the victims of a freak electrical accident. Jack is understandably stunned and immediately goes into shock, but the thugs threaten his life if he does not go through with the planned heist. Jack is then nudged along, confused, into the chemical factory, where a security guard discovers the group and the heist goes horribly wrong. A young, newly active Batman arrives on the scene, believing that he is fighting the actual Red Hood, and the mentally unstable Jack chooses to escape Batman by jumping into a vat of chemicals to swim away. The cumbersome hood allows Jack to breathe as he swims away, but upon seeing his own reflection, Jack notices that he is now horribly disfigured. Jack begins to laugh hysterically, suffering an apparent psychotic break from reality, and the Joker is born. This backstory is an example of the Foucauldian concepts of power projection. Here, it happens that the creation of the Joker is a direct result of the thug's use of this power projection tactic. The bulk of The Killing Joke, though, is spent focusing on the Joker's later efforts to break down Jim Gordon, the sanest man alive, into becoming as broken as the Joker himself. The Joker brutally murders the owner of an abandoned amusement park, going as far as to keep the smiling corpse for a decoration throughout the rest of the story as a backdrop for his master plan. He visits Gordon at his home, shooting his daughter Barbara, then orders Gordon beaten mercilessly, while the Joker strips Barbara naked and takes pictures of her bleeding out onto the floor. When Gordon regains consciousness, he asks where he is and what is happening, and the Joker simply tells him that he has begun the process of going mad. The Joker encourages Gordon not to try and remember anything, because memories, after all, are our tether to reality, and they will bring nothing but pain and confusion. He instead encourages Gordon to embrace madness as a way of dealing with reality, just like the Joker himself did at the end of his own one bad day. In essence, to the Joker, memory, rationality, and sanity are all a shackle of self-inflicted power constructs by which in our culture human beings are made subjects, another classic Foucauldian concept. The Joker, by virtue of his acceptance of insanity, is free from such constraints. Gordon is then chained to a carnival ride, where he is constantly bombarded by the images of his own nude, dying daughter in an effort to help him along this path of madness. Gordon seems outwardly mentally broken from the ride, and the Joker continues to taunt him, saying that's what a dose of reality will do to you, and that's why the Joker himself never touches the stuff. The Joker chalks up Gordon's situation to life and all of its random injustice, and later, while tied up for display in a cage, the Joker presents Gordon to a crowd of circus freaks as the despicable creature known as the Average Man. He claims that Gordon's insistence on sanity and rational thought is false, and ultimately it is his greatest weakness. The Joker is removing the empirical power of reality from the situation and seems to be proposing that we are the ones who are exercising power over ourselves. In essence, the Joker proposes that we are our own masters, and we simply are not accepting of this. The third and final element of the Killing Joke's commentary on power is told through the struggle between Batman and the Joker. The book begins with Batman making an uncharacteristic visit to Arkham Asylum to try and meet with the Joker in an effort to finally end their fighting before one of them ultimately dies. Batman is surprised to find, however, that the person in the Joker's cell is simply a doppelganger, and that the Joker himself is missing. There is a scene where the police threaten Batman regarding his conduct in the interrogation of the doppelganger. However, Batman all but ignores them. This moment is itself a deconstruction of projected power, in that the police are clearly used to projecting their power that they accept as absolute. Batman, however, does not accept their institutional power, and in the face of this, the police find themselves helpless and confused. Batman's rejection of their power freezes them into inaction. Batman's apparent projection of his own power is quickly juxtaposed to his helplessness, however, when he visits a sobbing Barbara Gordon in the hospital and learns that she is now paralyzed for life. Batman proceeds to turn the Gotham Underground upside down in a futile effort to locate the Joker. Batman, who just showed such power with the police, is quickly disarmed in his struggle against his lack of power in the underworld. So fragile is Batman's power construct that the only way that Batman is eventually able to find the Joker is when the Joker literally sends him an invitation to his location. Batman's own futility of action is highlighted by this flagrant act of power projection by the Joker. Adding to the convolution of power projection is the fact that this invitation is hand-delivered by the police, who seem at this point to have accepted Batman's projection of power over their actions. By following direct logic, this leads the reader to understand that there is an implied power hierarchy, and currently sitting atop it is the Joker. Despite both men being frustrated and powerless against the Joker's mechanizations, upon arriving at the Twisted Carnival, Gordon instructs Batman to take the Joker down by the book, to prove that our way works. During their final confrontation, the Joker says he doesn't care if he is caught, because he has proven his point by turning Gordon into a madman, and that he has proven that there is no difference between he and everyone else, that all it takes is one bad day to reduce the sanest man alive to lunacy. That's how far the world is from where I am, just one bad day. Batman challenges this notion, however, by telling the Joker that Gordon is fine and wants him brought in according to the law. The Joker then takes the path of comparing himself to Batman, postulating that Batman was most likely created by one bad day himself, which of course the reader knows to be a true statement. It seems that the Joker is trying to convince Batman that the Joker is tied to his own identity by a consciousness of self-knowledge, and that Batman is denying himself this sense of power by giving the power instead to notions of sanity and insanity, right and wrong, good and bad. The Joker ultimately decides not to take advantage of his chance to kill Batman, and instead discusses the nature of their struggle. He claims the world is mad, illustrating this by anecdotally noting, "Do you know how many times we've come close to World War III over a flock of geese on a computer screen?" Which itself seems to be an overt reference to the power-subject relationship of the government and the population it is charged with protecting. The Joker, at the end of the book, simply claims that all of reality is just a joke, and he happens to see the funny side of it all. To the passive reader, The Killing Joke is a classic Tom and Jerry story of Batman being tested by the clever guiles of the Joker's twisted mind. To the astute comic book historian, it represents a definitive backstory for the Joker and a shocking change to the status quo of the Batman mythos, with the paralyzation of Barbara Gordon and the mental attrition exacted upon her father and mentor. However, digging deeper than that, The Killing Joke is an excellent example of the deconstruction of Foucauldian concepts of power and projection, raising the question of whether or not sanity is the ultimate manacle of superficial authority.